We have the makings of a bad situation developing on the western slope right now with wildfires. 5 fires have burned through more than 20,000 acres of land in our state. The largest, the Deer Creek fire, is mostly in Utah. It's just crossed over the state line in Colorado yesterday. It's about the same size as the 14,000-acre Turner Gulch fire, which is running wild near Gateway. Little to no containment on either. The wildfire at Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park has burned most of the park's south rim. The South Rim fire, started by lightning yesterday, has burned around 1,400 acres. No containment on that. Mark Salinger joins us now from Montrose. And Mark, you have learned some details about the extent of the damage inside that national park.
Yeah, Kyle, the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park announced today that they've canceled all camping reservations for the rest of the year. The entire national park remains closed. Now, I found out today from the superintendent that they canceled those camping reservations because the fire tore through the campground and a maintenance facility nearby, scorching all the land and everything in its path.
The campground is basically a moonscape. It's been completely leveled. There's nothing there. The only thing left are the metal bear boxes, the fire grates, and the frames to the picnic tables. Everything else is gone.
The Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park is on fire. Superintendent Stuart West was there when it started.
Basically, we went from overlook to overlook, and then if there's any cars we couldn't account, or people we couldn't account for, but there's cars there, we assume they're in the wilderness.
Park rangers searched for campers in the backcountry as Stuart made the decision that it was too dangerous to send rescue crews deep into the canyon to search for people.
You got to weigh the pros and cons of trying to go down the canyon or not. We decided not to do that, but people were coming up, and in fact, they all came up out of the canyon before the fire came.
No one was seriously injured. As the flames continue to burn with zero containment, 420 firefighters assigned to this fire have turned an elementary school in Montrose into a fire camp.
We have resources from all around the country here on the fire.
Casey Cheesebro is the incident commander for the South Rim fire. We wanted to know if cuts to the National Park Service and Forest Service have impacted the response to a fire in a national park. Between 5 aircraft and hundreds of firefighters, he says he's gotten all the help he's asked for.
What's helping us right now is it is busy nationally, but it's not so busy that we're not getting resources. We actually have had good luck getting the resources in so far that we've ordered. Hand crews are typically one of our harder resources to get, and it's taken a little time to get some of those filled, but we have got them here.
As firefighters continue to battle the flames, parts of the park could look very different whenever it opens back up again.
The park was designed back in the 1930s. Back then, 1,600 visitors a year. Now we're just under 400,000 visitors a year, so maybe it's an opportunity for us, and that's the way I'm going to look at it.
So I want to paint a picture of the terrain that this fire is burning in right now. If you've ever been to Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, you know just how deep and steep it is. The fire is literally burning inside that canyon. It's burning upwards, catching trees, logs, whatever it is on fire. Then those fall down to the bottom of the canyon and start new fires that then race all the way up. Kyle, that's the challenging terrain that firefighters are dealing with right now.
That's absolutely wild, Mark. I mean, for those of us who have been to Black Canyon and who have hiked down to the bottom of the canyon, just thinking about the idea of the fire jumping, falling down in, jumping back up in another place, like even firefighters have probably never dealt with something like that. It's just unusual.
Yeah, they call it a very unique fire in part because of the canyon. It's also unique in that it started because of a large lightning storm with weather moving through. That lightning also started several fires across the western slope. We have a little bit of rain coming through right now, which is of course good news for firefighters, but at the same time, storms like this bring more lightning and there's more concern about more fires starting.
Our man in Montrose, Mark Salinger, tonight. Thank you, Mark. Brush fire near Chatfield State Park is being blamed on a train. The airport fire started Sunday, forced 39 homes in Leviers to be evacuated for a few hours. That town's along Highway 85 between Highlands Ranch and Castle Rock. The fire burned 130 acres. It's now fully contained. South Metro Fire says it started along the BNSF rail line that goes through a grassy open space. BNSF actually sent out a firefighting train to help put out the fires along the tracks on Monday. Helicopter from the Doco Sheriff's Office also worked that fire. 9 News meteorologist Kathy Sabins along, and this is a dangerous situation right now, especially out in western Colorado.
Yes, and we're watching the wind in western Colorado very closely because, as Mark mentioned, the storms rolling through are bringing a little rain, but a lot of lightning and wind was something, well, that fire managers are monitoring in terms of progress and spread of the fire. Cloud cover along the Front Range today kept the thunderstorms kind of limited until early afternoon. We remain under a weather impact alert. Severe storms, we're tracking those east of Denver with hail, lightning, and flooding rainfall. Too much of a good thing for many areas. Enjoy the temperature trend for today. 70s in July. We don't see that very often. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch out until 10 o'clock, and we've got one cell that is showing signs of rotation, radar indicated rotation in Morgan County and Washington County. We do have a tornado warning that's out for about another 20 minutes or so for that cell that is tracking toward the east. It's got a lot of hail, and these storms have had a history of dropping 1 to 1.5 inch diameter hail and flooding concerns in and around Manitou Springs, Colorado Springs, and Widefield with flash flood warnings there. 2 to 3 inches of rain has already fallen, and we expect additional rainfall in the next 2 hours in those saturated soil areas. Level 2 out of 5 in terms of severe potential for the rest of this evening. And so that is something that we'll be tracking. The storms will be moving out in the next couple of hours. So really the heavier storms happening between now and 8. Cool, comfortable temperature trend between now and the overnight. And then tomorrow 87 with an isolated storm, back to 90 Friday, really turning up the heat Sunday into the first part of next week.
Colorado's Division of Insurance is predicting skyrocketing health insurance premiums next year. They're blaming that on the Republican budget bill passed by Congress earlier this month. The state says insurance companies are requesting massive premium increases, an average of 28%. This is for the individual market health insurance plans next year. Compares to average increases of 5% this year, 10% last year. The state estimates the increases would impact more than 300,000 Coloradans who don't get insurance coverage through their work. The state's insurance commissioner says the biggest increases will likely be in rural areas and on the western slope. He points to the upcoming expiration of the enhanced premium tax credit, which helps middle-class families pay for insurance. 2 women in Mesa County set out to see if you can commit voter fraud in Colorado. They learned that you can, and now they have both pleaded guilty to that crime. Feels like a tough way to find out something that they could have Googled, but life is about choices. A former postal worker and her friend stole and illegally voted other people's mail ballots. That postal worker, Vicki Stewart on the left, got 5 years in the clink. Her friend, Sally Maxton on the right, pleaded guilty yesterday, got 2 years probation. These election super sleuths stole more than a dozen ballots, filled them out and signed them with other people's names, then dropped them in the mail. The state says 3 of the forged ballots got through and the votes couldn't be reversed. Our Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns exist to connect good people with other good people to do good around our state. You're good people. Let me introduce you to some other good people. The folks at the Children's Diabetes Foundation, part of the Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes here in town. When kids are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, families aren't just dealing with a medical challenge, but a financial one too. The cost of diagnosis, the cost of pumps, the cost of insulin, the cost of test strips. For some families, it's also the cost of coming from all over Colorado to get care at the Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes in Aurora. The first year of care, they estimate, can cost $20,000, with thousands of dollars more in medical costs each year after that. The Children's Diabetes Foundation's Helping Hand program helps lower-income families cover the cost of their diabetes supplies, emergency funds for hospital stays, travel expenses for treatment. It's a way to allow families to primarily focus on just keeping their kids healthy and not as much on the financial strain. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to donate. Your 5 years of microgiving, raising $15 million, proves how $5 donations really do add up. I'll never ask you to give if I don't, so as always, I'll match the first 50 donations at $5 to get us rolling. More than 5,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info once, and each month your donations split automatically among all the nonprofits we feature. You help everybody, and you don't get a ton of mail or email. It's meant these recent microgiving campaigns started with about $30,000 in donations. Veterans tell the governor in no uncertain terms to get his pedestrian bridge project out of the park dedicated to fallen service members.
Takes over a third of the park itself, which is supposed to be dedicated to veterans and our monuments.
Something stood out to us in CDOT's logo. It took us on a road trip far away from the roads. They biked across the western slope, now they're biking across France. Coloradans are taking what they learned here to the world stage. Democratic Governor Jared Polis faces new opposition to his legacy bridge project from veterans. They say they don't want that bridge from the front lawn of the state capitol to land in Lincoln Veterans Memorial Park. Polis met with veterans groups today to ask for their support, and he was given a letter from VFW Colorado telling him not to desecrate the park with what the VFW called a vanity bridge.
It's going to be the largest and biggest thing in that park, and people are just going to look at the big hideous bridge versus the monuments that are already built there for the fallen.
Jesse Eastburn with Colorado statewide VFW Group says it would be an insult to dominate Lincoln Veterans Memorial Park with the governor's pedestrian bridge.
It takes over a third of the park itself, which is supposed to be dedicated to veterans and our monuments.
Eastburn says VFW leaders weren't consulted about the project. They learned about it from watching this program.
The reason why we probably weren't added to the conversation is because we would say no. Plain and simple.
They're saying no now, loudly.
Government always looks at us veterans as a speed bump that they have to sometimes deal with, and sometimes they just run over us just like a speed bump. Like, they don't think about what they're doing if they have to deal with us. And unfortunately, this time they do. And we're going hard on it this time.
Spokesperson for the governor told me, quote, "We especially value hearing from Colorado's veterans." The governor is asking all Coloradans to vote online on whether you want this bridge built. The online survey makes a lengthy case for why the bridge project is a good idea, and then it also includes the video of my commentary on Next opposing the project. You can find a link to the governor's survey in this article on 9news.com and on the Next social media accounts. Colorado Department of Transportation has thousands of employees. There are 9 of them who aren't worried about Colorado's roads. Our Marshall Zellinger met them after noticing something curious about CDOT's logo.
When I think of CDOT, I generally think of what you see at the top of the screen, vehicles and roadways. Until recently, I hadn't thought about that flying object.
Like so many people across Colorado, you probably didn't know that CDOT does things with aviation across the state.
We learned about David Ulane and his role as CDOT's Director of Aeronautics after asking why CDOT's logo included an airplane.
There's 3,300 people or so that work for CDOT. There's precisely 9 of us that don't do surface transportation.
The 9 employees support the 76 public use airports in Colorado.
Big and small, from Denver International Airport all the way to the Mineral County Airport down in Creed.
Funded entirely by aviation fuel taxes, CDOT's Aeronautics Division helps with airport infrastructure projects, like helping to pay for a runway at Del Norte Airport in southern Colorado.
They didn't have an airport to be able to support life flight. It was just, the airport was just too small.
As CDOT's Aeronautics Communications Manager, Sean Setterberg shares the good news, like the life saved because a critically ill patient could be flown to Pueblo from Del Norte Airport instead of losing critical time in an ambulance.
So it was really cool to see someone who never uses the airport for anything else, but in that situation, save their lives.
CDOT also paid the FAA to install aviation cameras on 13 high-altitude weather stations.
It used to be only Canada and Alaska prior to 2020 had any dots.
The dots are linked to footage that shows pilots what a perfect day looks like compared to the current conditions.
We know somehow, somewhere, that what we did is going to keep somebody from perishing in an aircraft accident.
The 9 people who do CDOT's aeronautics work have to drive to their office in Watkins. Just don't ask them about road conditions.
When I walk around with this CDOT logo on my shirt, I get questions a lot. Well, what the heck's going on with I-25 or I-70? And I'm like, I don't know. But if you got any issues with airports, let's talk.
The Aeronautics Division funding also helps smaller airports pay for necessary equipment to stay open. When DIA is done with airport snow removal equipment, it sells it cheap. I'm told
Nearly $1 million in snowplows get sold for about $50,000, and CDOT covers about 80% of that, so a small airport gets a major piece of equipment, albeit used, for 10 grand.
That's actually very cool. They didn't sell that janky old DIA baggage system to some small airport, did they? They just burned that, right?
I think it's still in the underworld.
Still in the nether regions of DIA. All right, that was a great story. Marshall, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of fans, a lot of people stoked to be watching the tour right now.
Super stoked. They grew up cycling on the Western Slope. Now they're competing in the world's most famous cycling event. The Tour de France picked up back today after the first rest day of the world's most famous cycling event, and there are 2 racers from Colorado competing. We caught up with the crew they used to ride with as kids in Durango to talk about their buddies making it big time.
Its first rest day yesterday, the Tour de France resumed at stage 11 now. We're in
Back in the day when we started Devo, there would be Americans in the tour, and you'd watch the whole tour, and you would just wait to see one guy.
Quinn Simmons has come to the front, the American.
And now Quinn's on the screen like every day of this tour. Yeah, my name is Chad Cheney, and I'm the head coach of Durango Devo.
And I'm Nate Greason. I'm the executive director of Durango Devo. Durango Devo is our local youth cycling nonprofit trying to foster a lifelong passion for bikes for all the kids in our town here.
Yeah, that's Sepp Kuss and Quinn Simmons are in the tour this year.
Here goes Sepp again.
Sepp was in some of the first years of Devo.
Quinn mixing with the best in this year's Tour de France.
Quinn's a little younger, so Quinn started a few years after.
He wears the red, white, and blue jersey of the U.S. National Road Champ, which is pretty distinctive. And he also has long, sweet hair that flows out the back of his helmet, which is also quite distinctive in the buttoned-up pro peloton.
I mean, Quinn is an awesome teammate, too. I think just Sepp is just probably the best one out there.
It's really cool, the amount of inspiration and connection the next generation of riders can feel with a pro like Sepp or Quinn.
They see the end product in Sepp and Quinn. They see these guys and they're like, oh, I can do that too.
It's so cool to see them as kids. Watch for them on the tour. Marilyn, thank you. Your feedback is next. Low-income families dealing with a type 1 diabetes diagnosis for their kids have one less worry in Colorado, thanks to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. That nonprofit's Helping Hand program assists families with the cost of diabetes supplies, medical care, even travel and hotel costs when those families have to come in from far-flung parts of Colorado to get specialized treatment in the Denver area. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. They're part of the Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes here in town. And I just got this note from Brenda in Westminster who writes, Kyle, when my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, we were scared and confused. The Barbara Davis Center literally helped us save his life and taught us what to do to manage it and to give him back a normal life. Brenda writes, they are an invaluable resource. And together, their foundation can do even more to help low-income families in Colorado facing that similar scary situation through this week's Word of Thanks campaign. A note from Jim asking about the governor's Pedestrian Bridge online survey, saying, when does the survey close? When will we know the results? They're saying that it will close on Monday, and they will commit to releasing the results right away. Can't wait to see them. See you next time.